Oh my god. Fucking technology, man.
I mean, both of us right now are definitely feeling like Patrick. We have technology. Dun, 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 dun. You guys don't understand at home listening to the Double D Experience, but you probably understand as the sultry tones of Dennis are now going to enter your ears even better than they normally would.
Hopefully.
We've had a problem forever, and me and Dennis are just such unbelievable lazy fucks that we never actually sat down one day, like to have like a test recording to try to fix it. Here's what happened, right? Dennis got a new microphone around like, what was it, like fucking Christmas of last year at this point.
Essentially, yeah.
And ever since he did that, well, the thing is, the problem is that he got a new mic. It's the same mic that Critical uses, so you know it's a pretty good mic.
I mean, at least I thought.
At least he thought. See ya. But anyway, and he also got a new pass-through filter. And the pass-through filter, I've heard some shitty things about, so I assume it's I still think it's the problem. But the problem is, and you guys never hear it because of all the audio editing I do at the end of the podcast, right? Ever since he got that microphone pass-through filter combo, every time he speaks and every noise he makes, I'm talking about the slightest, like, clicking noises into his microphone. He shuffles cards as, like, a little OCD or just
it's like my
ADHD,
fidget toy.
It's his fidget toy. Yeah, it's his fidget toy habit. And I don't want to ever tell him to stop doing that if it like relaxes him, gets him into a good state of mind for the podcast. It's his like little fidget toy. It's like, it's my boy. I want him to be happy doing his thing.
I probably shouldn't be doing it, TVH, because like it's probably mad distracting for everyone who hears it.
I think I usually get rid of it in the post. I think I can get rid of that noise too.
I know, but I'm just saying though, like typically it's like if people hear it, it is like fairly distracting, which I apologize for. But yeah, now we at least figured out that I mean, I probably, again, just as even a force of habit, probably should try to not do that because at least, like, it almost makes it seem as if I'm unfocused and I'm not, like, you know, engaged with the podcast.
Nah, you're good.
But
they didn't even know you were doing it because, like, the noise wasn't there and they can't see you because we don't use the webcams.
Oh, yeah, fair. But I mean, you know,
I did the same thing. I used to spin my phone around on my desk because I used to have like one of those pop socket things on it, and I would just go like, woo, like I was playing Russian roulette with myself. But anyway, the problem is, because we haven't exactly said the problem, every time he speaks, every noise he makes, it shoots up his audio gain. I swear to God, by like fucking like 20 decibels.
And it basically catches everything.
His computer humming, basically. Like, it makes it go like imagine every time I speak right now or make a snapping noise, you hear my computer like just hum up. It's like his audio gain increases every time noise enters into it to make sure he hears it. It's like he was using push to talk without using push to talk. That's what it sounded like, basically.
It was like its own self-aware, like push to talk, essentially. It's all like dictated.
Self-aware push to talk.
It was like all dictated by the settings that I put in. So like whatever got through, managed to get through. That's again all based on like the settings.
It would happen if there was a motherfucker outside his house mowing his lawn in the morning.
Yeah, that too.
And we record in the morning now. Like 90% of the time. So, yeah, like that's kind of completely out of both of our control at that point. You want me to get Dennis to like run up to his window and be like, hey man, shut the fuck up. We're recording some quality content in here.
The guy curses me out in Spanish.
Dennis figured out the problem. I didn't figure out the problem, you did.
Sliders, guys. Sliders.
You figured it out by fucking up. And that's the beautiful thing about it. Dennis, I've been talking too much. Dennis, what did you do? How did you fix it? Let the people know how they made your sultry Asian tones.
I slid the thing to the opposite direction.
He slid the thing to the opposite direction, ladies and gentlemen.
Sliders, guys. Sliders.
You remember Mario 64 fucking slider? Like,
dude, I'm in such a bad mood right now.
I am too, motherfucker. My throat hurts so bad right now. You think I feel like doing this shitty ass podcast? Because I do.
I mean,
I do want to do it, but my body does not want me to do it because of how tired it's been and the fact that I work 6 days a week on behalf of a company like Nintendo. But point is, we fixed it because Dennis changed the slider and it made the problem so much fucking worse. Like, I'm talking like an ant could crawl on his desk and the vibrations of the microphone from its little legs would shoot up the pole like
you would literally be able to hear a mouse fart.
Yeah.
That's how much it was catching, like, everything.
You would hear a mouse fart, and Dennis's mic would just go,
yeah. Not to mention, even, like, my seat, I have to get a new chair. Like, when I get a new job.
This shit
like,
was a scam. See this gaming-ass chair
it
behind me?
It always was.
Bullshit.
It always was.
The whole thing. All you fucking Twitch streamers sitting on that shit like, wow, their chairs are so unique. I want to be like them. You think this shit is ergonomic for a 27-year-old man with a herniated lumbar disc who drives all across North Jersey 6 days a fucking week? I had to get a standing desk because of this shit.
I like to even think, though, that for a lot of them, they got that chair, like, for free, essentially, like, because for promotional reasons. It's like the whole time I've always thought those chairs were just straight up like free advertising for whatever companies like they bought them from. Like, they're nothing special either. A chair's a fucking chair.
As is everything with Twitch, Logitech, like they'll have like the Elgato like Stream Deck thing and whatnot that they have. It's all the same shit, man. I mean, really? I don't want to get into Twitch streamers right now, but same thing. I got this chair, I guess in part for that reason. And when we were building it, there's a big metal beam, like a giant, hard, solid metal beam, like thicker than any dick you will ever see in your life, and heavier too. And when me and my father were building the chair, I was already in a bad mood because I was going through some shit with my then girl at the time. Mm-hmm. My father took that metal beam when we were building it, and he dropped it directly on my bare foot. And when I tell you I was hobbling and wobbling for the next couple, it bruised everywhere. I thought it was broken at first. I was already in a shit mental state, and then my dad put me in a shit physical state. And I didn't want to be impatient with him because I love my father, but at the same time, I was like, you fucking, shit.
Sounded like, oh my god, my fucking brain right now.
Dude. Basically,
guy from Home Alone. He wanted to curse, but he could not.
He dropped it on my foot, and he straight
Joe
up...
Pesci, fucking guy.
Before I even said anything, he said, "Did I just drop that on your foot?" And I was like, yeah. And it was a giant, heavy metal pipe.
Yikes.
And he didn't drop it sideways, like directly, vertical, all the weight. Just... Ay, papi, mis pies. Mis pies. That shit was horrible. So, I guess getting into the meat of today's episode as we try to, like, push the fucking tower up with my sore-ass throat and Dennis's mental state after realizing the slider was in the wrong direction. Because what he did, literally, he changed the slider, he made it so much worse, and then I was like, push that slider in the opposite direction. Like, as far as it goes. And now he's shuffling his cards right now, and his computer is not getting louder in the slightest.
Let me also just say one thing, and this is also the reason why, this reason I'm about to state is the reason why I do not envy programmers, and even, like, just guys, even working in audio in general. Like, it's a bit of a wide range, but I guess what I'm getting at is that, like, any profession where you'll have to be dealing with a bunch of wheels and knobs, like, and adjusting them to, like, get the perfect, like, audio level or even perfect anything you need to, like, adjust from the front end or back end. I do not envy your positions, like, at all, because every, like, time that I've ever even tried to, like, kind of just pick up doing, like, some, like, basic level programming, and when you find out that the code doesn't work, or, like, let's say in this case, like, why the settings are the way they are, and, like, you don't understand, like, why the fuck, like, it is the way it is, and you want to change it, and then you realize, like, it was probably, like, the most fucking nothing thing that was preventing you from, let's say, getting the result that you wanted. And, of course, there's just, like, a lot of experimenting that does go into that. And, like, finally, like, I realized that it only took me a fucking year. But, like, at the very least, like, we did figure it out. But, like,
it's both our faults.
It's such bullshit, man. I do not understand, like, how y'all, like, kind of can do that and, like, just not go insane. It reminds me of, like, I remember, it was from Devil May Cry 3. There's a scene where Virgil straight up, like, at one point in the game, he just screams out, like, why isn't this working? Must more blood be shed? Like, and then, like, I remember just seeing, like, in one of the comments, it's like, this is how programmers feel when, like, they've literally gone day 4 and, like, their shit is just not working and they cannot figure out why it's not working.
Don't coders at least have, like, Bugzilla and stuff like that where it can actively search for certain things that are wrong with it? Do they have to reread it, like, the whole thing every time, like, something goes fucky with it?
I'm sure. I actually never heard of Bugzilla, and if that, if they use that, then God bless them. But
it's from, like, a webcomic that I read about, like, geeks and geek culture and whatnot, where it's like a troubleshooting, like, sort of AI thing it was before AI was really prominent, but this helped you like search for bugs. Like, you were able to put your code into like a website or something.
It's a real thing.
And then your code would tell you like what the fuck is wrong with it, basically. And because that would in sense make that shit way easier. Because otherwise, I agree. Because beyond the fact that I'm terrible at math, I wouldn't have the patience to do stuff like coding, even though it is literally one of the most absolutely important jobs in society now. And
especially now.
Yeah, for sure. So honestly, I don't envy them either, man. I could never do that. I remember when Gabe Newell and like all those people like were in that video that people made were basically saying like, hey, if you don't know how to code, you're basically wasting your life and you're fucking stupid and you should go home and kill yourself.
No, they did not say that.
Yeah, they basically did. Yeah, I remember that video full force. They literally said like, if you're not learning how to code, what are you doing?
If you're a young person, if you're not learning how to code.
I'm not even 30 yet.
The world is full of other like ages, man.
It is?
Besides, it's coding also at the same. It is obviously essential. It's almost, I think, up to this point now in our life, it's like essentially important. But also, guys working construction and all that shit, like those kind of jobs, they're all fucking essential as well. Like
all the trade school ones.
All the trade school ones, yeah.
All the trade school ones, which a lot more people are going to trade schools now.
Because of how much of a fucking trade
college. There are trade schools for coding.
No, but like, it should be almost advertised as such. Because like a lot of times.
It is.
No. But because, for one thing, the way coding is usually advertised among like just people in general is just like, it's just something you could pick up and learn. That is not the case, like, at all. Like, everyone, like, whoever, like, because there's a lot of self-taught coders out there. They never went to a school. They just picked this shit up and like they just learned it at home and everything. And for a lot of times, like, I don't know what the discrepancy or difference is between, let's say, a self-taught one and a guy who went to a straight-up school to go and learn it. But like, the whole idea is that like, this is just something that you can learn for free at home. Like, you don't have to go to a school. You don't have to pay buckets of money to go learn it. And I think to a certain extent, that's the reason why the appeal of it is so high, because for a trade school, or at least any of those trades, you can't learn that at home. You can't just pick up a hammer and say, I'm a plumber now, and like just fucking start smashing your fucking pipes. Or at least coders, like, it's just like a lot less of a risk. Like, you can fuck up code all the time and there's no consequences. It just won't work.
And that especially won't work because a hammer is probably like the least optimal tool for most plumbing situations.
You know what I mean? A fucking monkey wrench.
I'm laughing because that means that, wow, you are definitely a self-taught plumber because you're not even using the right tool, you fucking moron.
Well, people are so... yeah. People aren't gonna like pick up.
I know your point.
Like, I know your point. Call up a plumber, and then if they ever say, "Oh, I'm a self-taught plumber," it's the same. Oh, I learned rocket science from the back of a fucking cereal box. It's the same fucking thing. I mean, let's say if you are, if your dad was a plumber, right, and you went with him every day to work, and you saw how everything worked, you could argue that, sure.
Yeah.
But like, you can't just pick this shit up at home after 6 months.
But now there are online classes. I'm sure there are Zoom classes and whatnot for things such as coding. Almost every voice acting
coding, yeah.
Almost every voiceover class I've ever taken, and voiceover is something that a lot of new people think can be self-taught. Not in the slightest. If you're not trained to do it, like I promise you, you will be laughed out of a room if you try to audition for shit that you're not ready for. I promise you that. That is something that absolutely
you should go to school
requires training. Yeah, but there's no. Oh, I have a voiceover degree. That's not a thing.
No.
And there's not a trade school for voiceover either. That's something where there are online classes for. You could study with actors and whatnot. So in that way, it's sort of similar to coding. But not completely, because I'm pretty sure there are trade schools for coding. Haven't you seen those advertisements on the highway? Like, I went to Lincoln Tech.
Oh, I know.
Like, you know those advertisements? You remember those News 12-ass advertisements? That's a trade school.
No, I know.
That's not a college.
But at the same time, though, and a lot of coders will even, like, a lot of just people in tech in general will even argue, and I've seen them argue this, like, you don't need to go to school. You don't need to pay 5 figures just to learn this shit. And at the same time, it's like, you know, people, like, it all depends on the environment, too. Because it's like, oh, if you learn better in, like, a sort of classroom setting, then okay, then yeah, go to school, fine, fuck it. But, like, you know, for a lot of people, like, they also just can learn by themselves. And my ADHD ass struggles with that a lot of times because I get distracted hella times, like, whenever I'm trying to, like, learn any fucking thing. So it's like even right now, like, look at me. My fucking, like, hands just need something to do. So I'm just shuffling my fucking cards.
I've been jerking it this whole time.
Just off frame, just like furiously jerking. You see like something white come up from the screen.
And like the whole time, like my body's not even shaking. Like it just like looks completely normal.
Just stiff as fuck. The fuck are you, a corpse? Like when you fucking masturbate?
I can't lower my desk anymore.
I guess my point is too is that like for a lot of like hard skills that you need to learn, there are schools for it, and if you do need a classroom setting, you can do it. But for a lot of certain things where because coding is also just like even anything in tech, not even just saying like coding, but like even working in IT and all of that, like, you know, you do need to a certain degree like not only the hard skill, but also like you need some experience in it as well. That's actually usually what a lot of these tech companies are kind of look for when they're like trying to pick up guys that they need for teams, because a lot of times like they don't want to in that sort of profession. I would, if I worked in it, I kind of one day want to work in it, but like I can assume a lot of guys that work in that industry, they do not want to teach anything to anybody. It's like you should be coming in already at the very least being familiar with this. Maybe not being a whole fucking expert, let's say, but like at the very least, I don't need to teach you the basics. You should know this already. So it's the same for plumbing. It's like you're not gonna be wanting the guy to know how to fix a fucking pipe when a guy's plumbing company picks up somebody. You should already know this.
Yeah, it depends on the level, I suppose, because, you know, there are beginner voiceover classes, and there are certain, I guess, expert ones I haven't taken because I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. I have been paid to do voiceover for the first time this year.
Yeah.
Which I'm insanely proud of. You can't take that away from me. Fuck you.
Who's taking that away from you?
No, I'm just being
Who are you talking to?
Who's
the bro talking to?
It's the bad brain. It's just the bad brain. Don't worry about it.
It's
the demons.
It's Nega David.
The negatives. Alright, yeah, but it's the same with voiceover, because there are those classes, there are scam ones that promise you like a demo, like, oh, you'll be a working voice actor after you finish this class. It doesn't work like that. Everyone's path in voiceover is different. Everyone will tell you something different. People have different philosophies about it. They have similar things where like be like, oh, I was an actor before, or I just had an interest in it and I took like voiceover classes online, but it's just like coding. It's not one of those things that you can say is, oh, I'm completely self-taught. It just doesn't work like that, like full stop. And like if you try to like present yourself in a way where it does, if you try to self-teach yourself and then like you feel like you're ready to do stuff like auditioning and whatnot, you're not like following like the monomyth or like, you know, the or at least a semblance of like, I don't know, the steps or the ladder. It's like it's just not going to go good. So as far as my ADHD brain, as far as like the concept of networking being shoved down my throat at Montclair, like not really being ready to grow into myself, considering how late of a bloomer I am, really, it's like my whole thing with that is like, how do you break in to these things. And so I kind of echo what Dennis is saying in the sense that, like, how do you make sure you're at the right level before you start, like, looking for the certain right jobs, or, like, talking with the right people even, or even just how do I break into the field? That's something a lot of people ask themselves, and it just happens differently for people in different ways. Sometimes people just naturally network. Sometimes, like, people inorganically network, and that's no good because, like, you know, you should want to be there. You know, every bit of networking I did in the Smash community back when I was trying real hard to be, like, you know, a big caster and shit was, like, it was all organic because, like, every bit of networking I did without even realizing it. I just was meeting people by going to the events. I was just meeting people by wanting to go to them and commentating. I was meeting them by asking, hey, like, can I go to the diner with you guys that you're going after the bracket? And I just wanted to be there all those times. Yeah. It didn't feel like, yeah, this is it. This is a great opportunity. Like, for me to, there's a great opportunity to jump in. That's the only reason I'm here. No, I just wanted to be there. And people feel that energy back in. When it's real, it'll feel natural. But at the same time, to quote the late, great Eddie Van Halen, you gotta roll with the punches to get to what's real. Sometimes. Yeah. Of course. And so that's why I think that's why trade schools are, you know, rising in popularity and importance.
As they should.
And also because, and I don't doubt either of one of us wants to get into this considering the topics you and I have for today, college being what it is now and how expensive it is, and the fact that it's basically not an investment anymore. Which we've talked about. We've talked about many times before. You can go back to, I forget what the episode was called.
Yeah, exactly. We don't even remember.
The Double D University, I think that was the episode.
I think that might have been, yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. But point is, it's important. You know, like, you just gotta be wary and, you know, just roll with the punches to get to what's real. And if you want to be there and you want to do this, the people around you will see that energy, and a lot of the networking will come naturally. Yeah. That's why I believe Dennis could absolutely break into IT if he wants to, as far as me into voiceover. People talk to me about voiceover as if, like, I'm some sort of expert, and I'm like, bro, I have done it. I've been paid to do it once. Like,
there's
a
level of humbleness you gotta have too. But there's also, like, I think it was like Aaron from Game Grumps or somebody who I remember listening to said this. It's like, you should have a level of humbleness, but at the same time, you should also have a fair amount of confidence as well. Yeah. Because I think I don't know. I've never really met someone who was just so fucking arrogant about, like, let's say something that they did, to the point where, like, it's just,
I have
this guy's, but it's like, he could be that arrogant because he is that skilled. I've never met anyone that much where, like, okay, like, this guy's ego matches his skills. It's like, I mean, to a certain extent, it's like, you know, I always thought, okay, if that person can walk the walk and talk the talk, and he's gonna be like a fucking, like, arrogant piece of shit about it. But it's like, at the same time, who could really say anything, at least against his skills, because it's like, he's proved that he's fucking more than capable, if anything. I mean, he doesn't have to be a dick about it, you know, of course, obviously, like, everyone could argue that. But it's just like, I think I've met maybe one person who, like, was that guy. Like, he's the guy. He, like, you know, he just, like, he was so, like, he was so fucking good at what he did. And he was so fucking arrogant about it, but it's like, who could actually say anything? Because, like, this guy actually is, like, he's the fucking GOAT. I met one guy, I think, who was, like, pretty close to that, but it's like, you only ever see this fucker, like, on TV and shit. He just walks and, like, he's like, the fucking best coder, the fucking best sniper, the best fucking, like, you know, boxer, whatever. And, like, this guy could probably, like, within his world, he'll kill you, like, you know, in it. But, like, you know, it's at the same time, again, like, I don't know, like, seeing that level of arrogance a lot of times, especially if the character, let's say, in particular, is, like, just that fucking skilled. It's always fun to see on TV, but then I always remember, if you saw this fucker in real life, you'd hate him. Archer. Like, immediately. You'd fucking hate him. Like,
Archer, one of my favorite shows of all time. If you knew a motherfucker like that, if you knew someone like that, you would absolutely hate him.
Even if he was supremely great at his job.
Yeah. And then, you gotta remember, that's one end of the toxicity when it comes to a growth mindset. There's people who become so good at it or whatever, and then they get arrogant, or they're bad at it and they're arrogant.
Yeah,
That happens
Which
too.
happens a lot more often than the other.
Me. Yeah.
Like,
or, there's the other end of the spectrum where we talk about humbleness, and people who get too humble and don't give themselves credit ever and like start to beat themselves
Pussies,
up like, or I'll never be as good as this guy, blah blah blah, or they even are good at it but they're too humble and don't, you know, they don't give themselves credit, or they're bad at it and they don't have a growth mindset and they don't tell them, which I don't.
If you're good at it, celebrate
I do
it.
Sometimes I don't have a growth mindset. I have a pretty cruel inner voice. It's getting better because I feel like I've finally finished my, you know, after my harrowing mental health journey that I've gone through about my Asperger's recently. I feel like
and you do have a big dick.
Yeah, that too. I feel like I've finally
Helps me feel better.
I feel like I finally like finished like the, you know, I feel like I finally finished the awkward phase that I went to from the ages of 12 to 27.
You know, people
If that
really
makes
do.
any sense.
People do underestimate like just how formative like our early teens to 20s are. Like,
and not to mention, as somebody who has Asperger's too, like, you know, like my frontal lobe probably took even a little longer to like fully develop, which is probably part of why I'm like, I feel like I'm kind of a late bloomer as a person.
For sure.
I literally picked up a woman at a fucking bar a few weeks ago. I never thought that is something I would ever be able to do. And she was the kind of woman that I'd never date. Like she was like
she was a fast woman. She was very fast.
She was not a fast woman. She wanted to be a fast woman, but her mind would not let her. Her body wanted to be a fast woman, but her brain would not let her, based off her experience. But point is, you looked at her, she wasn't like a nerd or any type, or like even like seemingly the right kind of neurodivergent that like a guy with Asperger's typically goes for. She was like one of those like stereotypical like Instagram like like hot glammy girls where like I'm the greatest good that you're ever gonna get, which like okay sure whatever yeah, point is she was not the kind of girl that I normally date, but she was hot and I wanted to talk to her, so I did. And I never in a million years thought I'd be able to do that, and that's because I think finally in my late 20s is where I'm starting to really like finish like my fucking puberty.
Yeah.
in a twisted sort of way, you know. So
I think a growth could take a while to finish.
Which is why I think a growth mindset is important. It was so hard for me, you know, because instead of being accepting of my flaws, I thought my flaws were going to stop me from getting what I want forever. And I know that's not going to happen. I know I'm going to eventually do that as long as I keep loving what's true, that the world will come to me. That's what Michael Bublé says. And hey, the world came to him. That's spicy Canadian. It came to him.
I just think his name is funny.
He got a hot Michael
I don't really.
Michael Bubble.
I think I did call him Bubble one time, and my sister's like, "No, his last name is Bublé."
I did when I was a kid.
Everyone did.
And then he got sponsored by Bubble Water because even he knows that like his last name fucking like that's why he took that job.
It's marketable.
He fucking knows that like he's like, yeah, it looks like Bubble. I know. But point is to get that growth mindset. You can't be toxic in the other direction. You can't be too humble and you can't be too confident. You need to be humble enough to the point where no matter how good you get, you're always willing to learn, and you need to be confident enough to the point where you can tell yourself, I can do this because of all I've been through makes me ready to do what's next. That's what Aaron was saying when he said that. You need the right amount of humbleness and confidence. Everything is somewhere in the middle. But people are so fucking stupid that they just go too far. They always just go to one
extreme or the other. Yeah.
Yeah, depending on what social platform they use.
It's so funny because like I just in the frame of like toxicity, it's like being overly humble is like being self-toxic, like to yourself. It's just like, I mean, someone's probably already thought of this. Like, it's like, what the fuck, 10 a.m. And I think I just had like the greatest epiphany, like worthy of a Nobel Prize in my head right now. But like, It really is true though, because like I think nothing in any of the extremes was ever beneficial for anyone. In the long run. Long run. Like, because again, like, you know, there's again, like I always say to David, there's always levels to everything. Like, confidence could be up here, but then arrogance is obviously the level way above that. And then for like humbleness, there's here. And then there's just basically not really. I don't guess like,
self-deprecation.
Yeah, like, but it's like
just low self-esteem.
But it's not even for the sake of comedy. It's like you, like to a certain extent, your brain truly feels like, oh, I'm not good enough. Like rather than like, you know, I think I'm skillful, but like I think I could learn more. There's always like, you know, that sort of weird like kind of seesaw we're playing there with our brains, because like obviously it's like. I truly feel if like you could achieve that balance within yourself, you're fucking unstoppable, in my opinion. Like, because if you have that balance on this one side of the confidence sort of side of it, it's like you are confident at least in the skills that you have. But at the same time, like when you feel as if like, okay, like I could still learn more, then that's just going to that's just going to elevate you even higher. Because you're going to want to learn more. You're going to want to know like more. You're going to want to like actually like put in the time to like learn, let's say, those skills that you need to learn. And like you're just going to like, be just more motivated. But then there's also like, how I always say, like, you can't rely solely on motivation, like, all the time. Like, because a lot of times, I'm gonna be real, especially with learning any sort of like hard skill, like, let's say even SQL, coding, or anything else, like, in that regard, it's like, we at the same time, like, we can't rely on it because motivation fades like fire. It just goes out sometimes. And like, we can't fucking rely on it every now and then, like every day. Because if we do, then, like, what if it's not there? You're just not gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Growth mindsets are so tricky. Believe me, I have had... People always think... Here's the thing. People think all sorts of things, right? Because people think I'm amazing at voiceover. Because, oh my god, he has such a nice voice. Mm-hmm. Having a nice voice has nothing to fucking do with it. Nothing. There's people with shrill voices who have made Gilbert Gottfried, do you think he had a traditional nice voice?
He had a unique voice.
Yeah. That's what it's about. It's about using your unique strengths, and everybody's voice is different. Dennis, if he wanted to drop everything and do voiceover, do you think he's going to be told he can't do it because he doesn't have the right voice? No. His voice is right already because it's his. That's the secret to voiceover. It's about
But you have to refine it, too.
And you have to refine your skills, yes, but the secret to voiceover is sounding like yourself. I've said this a million times on the podcast before. You can go back to the initial Mario movie episode or the pre-Mario movie episode we did, episode 98, I think, where I talked about this, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so people always think I'm more confident than I actually am. And I'm way more confident than I used to be, don't get me wrong. Like I said, awkward phase from the ages of 12 to 27. But anyway... If people think, oh, he's so tall, he has such a nice voice, he's so handsome, blah, blah, blah. People think all certain things about myself. Women who like me make eye contact with me, but then they don't approach because of societal stigmas and shit. Shout outs to Jarlene. But, yeah, she approached me first. She had balls.
True.
She had balls. Shout outs to Jar.
She's an odd one out from amidst her gender.
Yeah, honestly, Jar, if you're listening to this, like, what's up?
Give me a call.
Give me a call. Please. I'm so lonely.
I'm so lonely. So lonely.
I ain't got nobody to call my own. So lonely. No, I'm good. I'm single and I'm fucking thriving.
Thrive, king.
Thrive, baby, yeah. But point is, people always assume that about myself. You do not even want to know the severe self-esteem issues I had growing up. Like, really, really bad. I have a very cruel inner voice. All the negative thoughts, the depression, the anxiety, the you're not good enough, you never will be, you're born different in a bad way, blah, 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 like, all that kind of shit. You'd be better off if you weren't around. I've had every one of those thoughts. I still have bad days sometimes when my brain gets like that, or days when I don't feel like talking to nobody. But accepting that you have your quirks and that you're wired the way that you are is the best way to move forward. Even admitting that there's a problem is like the best way. Acknowledging you have one is already a huge step to getting better. And because it's like proof that you're acknowledging yourself instead of rather just like ignoring it and just moving on, just status quo, like day by day, whatever. It's like literally like, okay, I have a problem, but I can accept that I'm, different and grant myself the serenity to accept the things that I can't change and the power to change the things that I can. And once you learn to accept your quirks, and you'll find that the world, or like the kind of things that you're looking for, will be way more accepting of you than anything else. For me, my Asperger's. I thought the Asperger's affects people in all sorts of different ways. Some people are terrible at school. Some people are terrible socially. People don't believe me when I tell them I have Asperger's. Like Marcy did not when I told her, and she straight up did not believe me, like at all. And because of how well I present myself. They're like, he can talk to people. Listen to him on this podcast right now. Like, he's talking. He's not like foaming at the mouth or like drooling.
But they don't know the inner demons that we're fighting with a lot of times.
You never do.
Like,
you never do. And they don't
not
understand.
on a surface level, you can never tell.
Yeah.
Like,
and
I could be all smiles and shit, but like you have no idea like of the shit that I'm thinking of in my head. Like, people's unfiltered thoughts. Like, I always thought, like, because I think Bill kind of said it pretty well, where he said, like, you know, if we had all of our unfiltered thoughts just out there, we would not have a job the next day. We probably would not. Like, and it always is a range of, like, you know, just really dumb shit. Because, like, you know, there's always, like, you know, people even saying, like, oh, yeah, like, when I'm in a car, right? I've heard this a couple times where it's just, like, it's, like, not that they would ever do it, but, like, they just see, like, some person, like, walking on the sidewalk, right? And like, their fucking, like, real, like, just unfiltered thought is just, like, what if I ran that person over? Like, it's not, like, that's the thing. They would never, like, that's the line where you're a psycho, you know? Like, as Bill said once, like, you know, if you're not gonna do it, but it's just, like, you know, my brain's just like, oh, what if I just went, like, just, like, nudged my car, like, and just hit them by accident.
And
like,
there's the line, the societal line that treads it.
Yeah.
Comedians.
Because they could, yeah, because they know, like, I'm just saying this, like, you know, for them, like, it's like, I'm just saying this because, like, you know, to be funny. And it is funny.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they always just, at least the good ones, they always somehow put the thoughts that you can't say in public out there and make it funny. Because if I said, like, oh, you know, a lot of the stuff that they say, like, to anyone else, people just kind of repel back a bit because it's like, whoa, all right, okay, like, thinking. But it's just like, but obviously, for me, and if anyone actually, you know, for anyone who knows me, they know I don't fucking mean it. It's just I'm trying to be funny.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking absurd. It is absurd. Like, seeing a person just walking on the sidewalk and wanting to run them over, it's like, of course I would never do that. But it's like, you know, everyone has, like, intrusive thoughts all the time. And then now going back to, like, how, at least, you know, how we feel inside, and to the other side of the spectrum where it's just, like, a lot more kind of just, like, where we're very hard on ourselves. And, like, you know, we tell ourselves, like, oh, you're not good enough at this, you look ugly, you're fat, you know, brush your fucking teeth, you smell bad. Like, you know, thing is, though, at least for that last one, most people don't really smell themselves, or, like, they don't know what the fuck they smell like unless it's, like, god awful, I guess. But because I've had so many times where, like, I've gone to, like, my locals and people smell fucking god awful.
At
and,
a
like,
Yu-Gi-Oh
no
tournament?
No. But even just in general,
I
like,
would imagine that they prepare their hygiene.
But this even goes beyond that. It's the fact that you, like, went out in public at all smelling like that. And I don't know if there is, like, a societal line you can't cross where you can just tell a guy, bro, you stank. Like, you know, because it's just like, oh, he's an asshole. Why would you say that? Because he fucking stank. Because he stinks. But, like, apparently I'm the bad guy if I point that out. And you know, not to mention, even, like, right now, like, Konami even has rules where if you smell so fucking bad that it's a distraction, they tell you to fucking leave.
We need that in Smash. We need that so bad. Oh my fucking god. I mean, Smashers is, like, you know, grassroots scene, you know, we'll never get anything done because, like, no one likes to take that initiative and everything is done on Twitter. But, you know, point is, we need that too. Because there have been times where I've sat next to some of you motherfuckers and you actually smell like you just rolled, like, around in a pile of actual, like, unwashed cocks. And you just fucking...
You smell like dick cheese.
And I'm the bad guy for saying that. Like, come on. We were all thinking it.
Yeah.
Please.
But it's just like... But that's also the thing where, like, it kind of sucks because because I think at one point, like, you know, maybe we do smell ourselves, but it's just, like, not too... Because, like, like, I guess to them, their bodies are just so used to the stank that, like, it's just not an issue anymore.
Yeah.
But obviously, for anyone else, like, that smells them, it's just like, bro, you smell rancid. You gotta go take a shower, like,
you know,
now.
when you go into somebody's house that you've never been to before and, like, you smell it.
Yeah,
and, like,
you smell the house's smell, yeah.
Everyone's house has a unique smell that the people who live in it cannot detect.
Yeah.
Like almost everybody's house, like 70% of houses. Like there's an actual statistic for it, like straight up. And so sometimes they might just be blissfully.
It's a real thing.
Yeah. Sometimes they're just blissfully unaware of the stank.
You know, the thing is too, is sometimes it's not even a stank. It's just like sometimes some people's houses just smell like old house. You know what I mean? Like I've been to some places where like I saw like a bit of clutter in here and there, and like they have animals, and like, you know, if you have like, if you're one of those people sometimes where like, oh, I have like 5 different fucking pets, it's gonna smell like a zoo or some shit. Obviously, you know, that smell is gonna be there. But like, you know, for a lot of people, like it's just kind of like they have a lot of clutter, sure, but like it's like I don't really smell like it doesn't really smell that bad. Like I think that's also just because my nose is straight up broken. I honestly feel like if someone like dropped a stink bomb, I'd be the only one left standing because my nose is just straight up broken.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to like just people's BO, like bro, like I am, it is one of my fears, like, and I think generally, like speaking, like if you're like a fairly cleanly person, like obviously you're gonna keep on top of it, but like, you know, like for some people, like I don't know, like I've heard from some people like, oh yeah, like not even a shower is enough. I have to shower and then plus like put like deodorant, but then also reapply that deodorant because the stink's just always going to be lingering and all of that. And I'm just kind of like, to a certain extent, I kind of feel for you because that just means like, okay, like you just have to stay on top of it constantly, because if you don't, then it's just like the smell's just going to like, you know, come back. Obviously.
If it's really that bad, then like maybe you
see
should
a doctor.
I was gonna say see a dermatologist.
Yeah,
I would say. I mean, do you think that there would be people who like, because of how unique people's houses smell, that they're sort of like wine tasters but for scents, and they just go into people's houses and they're just like, oh yes, I detect a bit of colonial in here. Perhaps a touch of fruit oak postmodern. Yes, I can smell that. And they're like wine tasters, but for smells. And they just go into people's houses and just like do that. They they're like house smellers.
Maybe. I mean, you know, again, everyone's houses smell different.
Yeah, don't feed into that. I was trying to make that a bit. Like that was terrible. That was really inorganic. You see,
I had no idea where you were going with that, but I didn't want to shoot it down either. So I was just like, you know what? Let him roll. Let him.
When it's inorganic, people can sense that. Like last week when we were talking about how the Grinch is a goddamn dirty ass greener, that was authentic. And you know, I felt that. You know, it was real. You know,
I was actually surprised you were like, oh wow, he's gonna be like faux racist like me, because I was expecting
what that fucking movie was about, man. Like I can't even. Shout out to that Steam review again. I did go back and like it and give it an awards as well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I had to, dude. Like that was the best Steam review I've ever read in my life.
You know.
Look, with Asperger's, you know, like continuing on with the growth mindset shit, it's like instead of seeing it as a detriment, once I started just telling women like what it is and what I'm about, like how I have this defect, the right ones. Speaking of Dr. Seuss, you know, speaking of Dr. Seuss talking about the Grinch, those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. And I found that it really holds true in life. I don't tell women that, and they're like, ew, you're gross. Like, ew, that's nasty. Once you tell them what you're about and that you have your quirks and your defects, they see you as a normal, flawed human being, and sometimes that will make them more attracted to you based on like who I actually am. Like again, that Instagram-ish, like sort of very opposite of like typical like nerdy gamer neurodivergent girl that I've typically dated in my life. She was into me. Granted, I'm 6'5", but also I, you know, which again is which is really the big tits, by the way, of like just men. By the way, if we can really say that for a second.
Big tits or big ass?
Yeah, it's like literally
it could be interchangeable.
Big tits or big ass, but it's socially acceptable in the other direction because of the history of fucking misogyny in America and whatnot. Motherfucker, if you only like me because I'm tall, get the fuck out of my mentions, get the fuck out of my face. Fuck you, honestly. That is like literally the big, like, oh, you have big titties of like fucking. It is. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. No, you're not wrong.
I feel like there are probably comedians who have made that joke before. I'm not even going to claim that's mine because they're probably like... Point is,
oh no, yeah.
I told her that, and instead of being like, ew, like I was able to take her out on multiple dates. Like she was actually pretty like into me and whatnot. We weren't compatible, so we like, you know, we ended it. But like, which I was more than okay with. No, I'm not telling that story yet. One day you guys will hear it, trust. But yeah, that's just for him. That's just for him for now. Like you guys will like wait a couple of weeks, couple of months maybe. Point is,
maybe
I was able to do that. That was so far out of my comfort zone, going to a fucking dive bar where like a fight broke out like in front of us as well and everything, where that motherfucker kept coming back in, picking up this gorgeous like looking woman who was just sitting by herself eating a salad at the bar. And what am I gonna do? I'm gonna tell myself I can't do that just because
of like story too.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell myself I can't do that just because of like my defect or whatever. And sometimes you can't, and that's okay. But that just means yet. You can't do it yet. That's what my mom always says. She says, you can't do it yet. You need a growth mindset, David. And she's right, but it's so hard for a guy like with my brain and like my Aspergery-ass brain feeling like, oh, I'm different than a lot of people. Not in a good way. Not like I'm different as in like, not that edgy-ass like emo way. Like, I'm different. I'm so edgy and I'm different. No one will ever understand me, even though I do feel that way sometimes. Your thoughts are not your feelings.
Yeah.
You know? So and once I started accepting that about myself and realizing the things, like I said, like I told you I had that breakthrough in my therapy where I realized why I go for women with hot girls with mental health issues. And once I realized why I do that and shit, it's like the world helped open up to me. Like therapy helped with that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, just learning to actually try to be accepting of myself. And you'll find that more people will be accepting of you than you might think. Yeah. You know? So like I said, like speaking of the Grinch and Dr. Seuss, those who mind don't matter, those who matter don't mind. And
dirty little greener.
Yeah. Stop being a fucking like dirty ass greener. Or a Reddite. I feel like Reddite isn't good enough. I gotta come up with something like Redder.
Redder sounds stupid. It sounds like a Redditor. You're just missing like a syllable. A Redditor should be a slur.
It should be, honestly.
It really should be a slur.
Yeah, I can think of like worse insulting things to be called. So, I guess that's all I have to say about that right now.
I'll even just add to that.
Oh, please, go ahead.
Because I was even gonna say, like, and I've said it before, a lot of times if you see, like, overly attractive people, like, just know, like, everyone, to a certain degree, like, everyone's either carrying skeletons in their closet, they're either low-key kind of broken inside, or like they're just kind of dealing with shit. Like everyone's basically in general, everyone is essentially dealing with something. And sometimes people have a way of coping. And for very attractive people, or at the very least, if it looks like they put a lot of effort into looking attractive, usually that's their way of coping. And I'm not no psychologist, but it's just like, it goes both ways where it's like, you know, for even a lot of guys who ended up like going to the gym, I haven't heard this from everybody, but I've heard from some of them that they went because something traumatic happened. And that like traumatic moment could have been anything. And a lot of times I've heard that a lot of the traumatic moments were they had to do with a girl. And like, you know, when we, as young, impressionable, you know, guys, like, whenever we, like, heard, like, what a stereotypical, like, macho guy looked like, usually was dude with muscles. Like, guy looked like he went to the gym. Like, he looks like Goku or some shit. Like, you know, just, like, that kind of physique. And I even think when it comes to, like, the advertising world, like, we are on, like, the women are a bit on the shorter end of the stick on that than we are, because like, I think because of figures like Kim K and a bunch of other, like, you know, people who are like in that sort of like industry, they like basically set the trends. Like, they're telling all these like young impressionable women, like, you know, you gotta look like this, you gotta make up like that, you gotta like get a butt lift like that, and like it's just a lot of like just very like not really positive sort of messages that they're sending to a lot of these like girls, because
see women at the gym all the time doing the squats with like the biggest weights, and they're all trying to get asses. It's like it's a societal thing, yeah.
Which, as the red-blooded male in me is just like, get all the big asses you want. Like I'm probably gonna be enjoying that when I'm walking down the fucking sidewalk.
Of course, but the reason you're getting those asses.
But that's why I'm saying like there's
definitely the shorter end of the stick, like you were saying.
But that's why I'm saying, like, at least for guys, it's like I think we to a certain extent also are affected by that. But
I wish squatting made your dick bigger.
I do my dick kegels like they just. But,
I wish, man.
But like for a lot of guys,
that'd be funny as hell.
But like for us, it's like if we want that, like physique with a little bit of steroids in mind you, like you can get that body. But a lot of times, I even like to think, like, if you just, like, look like you take care of yourself, that's already, like, a point of attraction for a lot of, like, men and women in general. Like, if you look like, okay, you take care of yourself, like, you don't need to look like fucking, I don't know why I thought of him, the first one that I thought of, like, as an example, Brock Lesnar. You don't need to look like fucking Brock Lesnar where you don't have a fucking neck. The dude is all like just traps. Like he has no neck. He's so fucking big.
Maybe he's on his Kirby grind. You don't know. Like,
who knows? I know. I'm not judging, but I'm just saying.
Maybe he realized
like
Kirby's the most powerful being in the Eldritch universe, and maybe he realized he wants to be like him. Maybe that's it.
You don't need to look like
Step one, remove your neck.
You don't need to look like a world heavyweight champion to like, to like not even just get women, to like even just to like look good. Like you really just, again, bare minimum, I'd even like to say, like, this is what you should be striving for anyways to begin with. Just take care of yourself.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Women do not like a ridiculously muscular guy. Women do not like a guy with the biggest fucking cock on the goddamn planet of the universe.
Wait. But at the flip side, we really like muscular women for some reason. I don't know what the fuck it is, but maybe this just comes from the Sims.
Can I be honest? I don't get it.
I don't really get it either.
All to people, and I think they're.
I don't get it. I don't really get it either.
A lot of the praising comes from like a feministic standpoint, where like women aren't supposed to look like that, quote unquote. You know what I mean? Because it's considered manly. I feel like a lot of that attraction. No offense, I feel like some people say they are, and they're not because they're more like Yas Queen people. But there are also people who are into that. Sims. No, there are also people who are in the step on me, mommy. Like there are people who are into like the dom sub shit, which I found out I am very much not recently. Again, that woman at the bar, very much into that. I couldn't do it. It was not my love language or my sex language, whatever the fuck it's called. Again, Aspergery brain. I don't get the words right sometimes. But the point is, I don't get it either, if I'm being completely honest. But that's not going to stop you from being yourself, because the right people, like those women, like getting muscular, being themselves, will attract the right people once you be yourself. That's the beautiful thing about life. That's what I'm going to tell you something. And I'm going to quote to end our podcast here. As we almost get to the end here.
Yeah.
With a quote from the greatest fucking, like, steal your girl effortlessly if he wants, walks into the room, fucking absurd, goddamn, ridiculous fucking Giga Chad, Brock Sampson, I'm going to quote right now. Yeah, no, women don't like him, Hank. Women like a guy who's confident enough to be himself. Like Steve McQueen. And then Hank said, who? And then Brock sighed really loudly, and he was like, Google him. Just Google him, Hank, alright? No, that is fucking straight up fucking facts. Women love a guy who's confident enough to be himself. I have Asperger's, social awkwardness out the wazoo when it comes to dating especially, and understanding the psyches of women and whatnot, and just all the rules of dating. I'm sort of like in the realm of like, you know how people say, I love God, but I hate religion because religion is man-made?
Yeah.
I love love, and I love sex so much, but I hate dating. You know what I mean? Like, dating is sort of like the man-made thing, all the rules and, like, the tribulations, the complications of human sexuality.
Why can't we go back to the caveman days where I just bonked you on the head and just dragged you back to my cave?
Shit was so much better back then. Hell, do you want me? It's equal rights. You want me? Bonk me on the head and drag me to your cave, girl. Like, let's go. Like fucking equal rights, equal
bonks.
Equal bonks, I guess. But point is, I found that really holds true in life. Again, I've fucking social awkwardness out the wazoo when it comes to dating, and I was able to pick up a girl like that. Alone. I've been on more dates and have been with more women this year than as a single dude than I typically ever have before. You know? It's kind of interesting when you really think about it.
Yeah, but that means your progression.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's coming along.
Like, I'm actually like growing into myself. Again, awkward phase from 12 to 27. Brock motherfucking goddamn Swedish murder machine Samson, baby. He's an actual role model character. He really is. Like, full stop.
Because he's also not overly... He's not even like just... I'm macho and that's my entire character trait. It's just like, no, like he's been through life. Yeah. And he just knows at this point, you know? And like, that's why at least, you know, for, I don't know, I feel as if, again, even for role models, I think women are also low-key on the shorter end of the stick, at least just because of the ones that are more, like, just...
That get thrown up. Not just the Kim K's, but the female comedians that get spotlights.
Even female influencers, too. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of bad
female influencers, fucking Schumer as well, who, like, who, by the way, it's, as you can imagine, insanely pro-Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck it is. That woman is so goddamn privileged. The
She's
fact that, like,
pro a lot of dumb shit.
There are, like, women there are, like, women who have been canceled for, like, speaking out against Palestine, or, like, speaking up for Palestine and shit. And then Amy Schumer could just go ahead and, like, say, like, this insanely, like, anti-Muslim shit that, like, she spews. Yeah. And just
apparently
fine.
Be completely scot-free on it.
You're gonna tell me white privilege does not fucking exist when that happens? Not to mention all the, like, women comedians that are actually funny, but, like, the only ones that get propped up are the ones that, like, you know, fucking agents
talk about the pussy.
Yeah, the ones that agents decide, you know, like, will send a message instead rather than the actual authentic funny ones. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about, like, your fucking Schumers, your Whitney Cummings, like, all those fucking people.
Where is our female Matt Rife?
Yeah.
Where is Mathina Rifina?
I mean, there's some that get, like, put onto good pedestals. Like, Taylor Tomlinson, I think, is great. Like, she's actually blown up, like, huge. Yeah, she's blown up hugely. Yeah, she's been on Conan before. Like, she's, like, making the she's already, like, full-time comedian. And she's not like, oh, my pussy, oh, men bad, blah, blah,
I know
blah.
her.
Yeah,
I know her.
Or your Hannah Gadsby's of the world, like the ones, I feel bad for the women because they're only getting picked because they're like the sort of quote-unquote radical ones or the ones that go against the grain that the media made for themselves when we just want authentically funny people.
But that is the grain now.
Men will get chosen for comedy, and that's fine. Like, agents will pick them up, whatever. But the only women that get chosen to, like, get to make the big time are the ones that they feel like are marketable to, like, radical feminists and stuff rather than the actual authentically funny ones. Because that's not even necessarily just their fault. Like, that's an industry problem, you know what I mean? There's so many funny-ass women comedians that don't get a chance because they're like, yeah, but she's not, like, we want one that, like, is, like, more feministy. We want one that, like, can speak more on, like, women's issues and whatnot. Her even doing that and, like, being a funny comedian and existing being a funny successful comedian
is not enough.
No, it's not enough for some reason. That by itself is already breaking the ceiling and, like, letting them be themselves again, liking somebody who's confident enough to be themselves. But no, like, men comics get chosen all the time when they're authentically funny, which is great. Women comics, nah, we're only gonna pick the ones that we feel like we can send a message with.
Which,
you know what I mean?
I'm not even be
like, they're an image, you know what I mean? It's so fucking ugh.
And I'm gonna even add to that, because it's pedantic as fuck. And also at the same time, like, a lot of, like, the average, like, female audience are sick of that.
Where's Jessica? Where's my girl, Jessica?
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Fucking throw her up there.
Like,
that's my fucking goat, for real. She opened up my creative brain to writing and taught me the things that I can do in the written word. And she's also really fucking hot. And came on our shitty podcast, too.
That is
so shout outs to Jessica. Give her I mean, her movie has been popping off. I mean, that shit won a ton of awards at a bunch of festivals.
As it should.
Like that. As it should. It was really good for independent films. Like, I've seen some fucking garbage ass independent films, and Unpacking was not one of them, honestly.
Very heartfelt.
Yeah, it was very heartfelt, yeah.
That's also why, like, I guess I'll just say this and then we'll wrap it up here. Yeah. Like, you know, when it comes to, like, again, this is the reason why, like, I honestly feel to a certain extent, like, all that crazy feminism, like, really set women back a bit, because now, like, that's the grain that you mentioned. That's what a lot of these, like, guys, at least in Hollywood and all these, like, think tanks, like, that's what they're looking for now. We want someone that is this. And I'm gonna be real, most average, you know, not really average, but I guess, like, just even, like, a normal, like, female comedian who's just funny, or even, like, anyone who's just, like, a female trying to break into media, like, most of them, I guarantee you, are not like these, are not that at all. They have their own, and like image. And that's why I'm saying, like, they have their own thoughts and feelings, and a lot of them obviously differ from a lot of this feministic crap that, like, you know, has been kind of popping out, like,
let's say overly feministic crap.
Overly feministic crap, yeah. Because, like, the thing is like, I think most men and women, like, not really most, but, like, a lot of us just agree on the same shit. We hate toxic men the same, or they hate toxic men the same way we hate toxic women. It's this, like, we have, like, very similar viewpoints, I think, a lot of the times when it comes to that shit. Because when we see anyone who's like that overly toxic, who like anyone from our own opposite or even same gender, we don't like them. And we even agree. We both together do not like them. And that toxicity can be of like a thing from anything. It could literally be, oh, they're overly feministic and they just trash on men. A lot of women don't actually like trashing on men. In fact, the fact of the matter is that, like, you know, plenty of them actually agree that, like, a lot of the issues that we deal with, like, you know, are, like, should be taken seriously. And, like, you know, a lot of times it's like, you'll be, like, this is the reason why, like, the internet is not a fucking real place. Like, if you, like, truthfully talk to anybody, like, if you're in college, like, that's, like, your best place to kind of, like, find a lot of like-minded people, because of the fact that, like, you know, when you're a lot older, like, it's kind of hard to, like, kind of expand your social circles, like, outside of, like, school, because you're in a setting where it invites you to go and expand your social circles. But once you're out of that, it's just kind of like you're on your own at that point. When you're out of college, you're on your own when it comes to that. And, like, you then have the only other outlet, which is online. But a lot of times, like, you know, you meet very confrontational people, like, on X and Reddit or wherever the fuck you go on. And, like, you know, it's not really inviting, like, healthy discourse about, like, a lot of this shit.
No.
And truthfully speaking, it's like, I don't really personally like talking about a lot of this stuff to, like, just people that I meet, because it's just kind of like, you know, I do feel this, but it's just like, at the same time, like, I'm not, like, fucking thinking about it 24/7 or whatever. Because, like, I still have my own shit to deal with. That's outside of this crap.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, but, like, again, like, if, like, we just don't like, I think genders, like, in general, like, all of us just don't like toxic people, like, just as a whole. Like, we just do not like them. And we all agree, like, you have your shit to deal with and we have our shit to deal with. And, like, you know, there are plenty of them who do, like, kind of want to, like, you know, get together and figure this shit out. But obviously the louder minority is always going to be the loudest. So therefore, like, you know, that's who we usually focus on.
Yeah,
but,
no, our issues are worse, you know, like, women are the problem.
It's not the Olympics, so who's got it worse?
It's so pathetic, honestly. And it makes you think about, like, the kind of stuff that divides all that. Like, Schumer is a product. Some agent picked her up and decided, this is what I want this woman to be. She's a product, and I'm going to...
I even like to think she has no real convictions either. She's gotten way too much money for me to feel like there's no way you actually feel this.
Maybe she does, but like maybe she does, but she just can't, like, fit them because, like, you know, it just goes against, like, what, like, you know, Hollywood decided.
Yeah, because she's getting that money. They pay her that money to say what they want her to say. And that's why, like, she has, like, that's why I'm saying, like, she has, truthfully, because of that money, she has no real convictions. Her conviction is the fact that I'm getting paid. Like, she probably got told, okay, we're going to pay you $2.5 million. We want you to say the most heinous anti-Muslim shit ever. Condemn Hamas and all them shit. She's like, okay, I'll do it. You know, and to a certain extent, it's like, you know, I always think, okay, if I was put in that situation, would I take that money? And to be fair, for any person, I think the money is enticing. But, you know, if we're just talking about Amy Schumer here, it's just like, clearly she didn't even blink an eye.
I mean, she basically thought Netflix was sexist because she only got $11 million for her special, while Chappelle got more, as if he's not more experienced.
Yeah, because you know, clearly Chappelle is beneath you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, no, I don't think it's like her getting told to say, like, anti-Muslim shit. She's Jewish of descent. I think she's just a head ass. I really think. Like, I really think she's
always been a head ass.
Yeah. Medium is the
Sarah
message.
Silverman was a head ass too, but like she's been quiet lately. Which
Well, even things like
the
the gun debate and like racial like discrimination in this country, like or like institutionalized racism, like all real shit. But you gotta remember the media, like there's people who like propagate certain like messages and images because you gotta remember there's people who see this shit and they get dollar signs in their eyes.
Oh.
You know, I could just say shit to like make, you know, there's people who profit off the end of the day. Well, there's a wonderful episode of Always Sunny about it. Where like Mac and Charlie want to get more guns on the streets, Dennis and Dee want to get more guns off the streets, and then there's Frank, who's like perpetuating all this pro-gun shit, like go to Gunther's Guns, get your guns, and then when they confront him about it, they're like, no, I'm not gonna go to the gun show. There's just people with guns, like nutcases, like gun nutcases everywhere who are obsessed with guns. But like you, I thought you were supporting those nutcases. It's like, no. I'm just selling this shit to them. Like I'm
getting money. I'm getting paid.
And then they expect the last people, the people who are at the top, who are profiting from all of that, like all those social issues and whatnot. Not saying every single thing is fake, but I'm just saying, you know, there are some things that get propagated. But that's a whole nother topic that we don't got time for at this stage of the game. We are done with today's podcast. Episode of the Double D Experience. We hope you guys enjoyed this one. We hope you guys enjoyed Dennis's sultry tones. And
hopefully it does sound better.
Not that it does. I can hear it. And the sultry tone, not the sultry tones of Dennis's computer, who was the third co-host of the podcast for a pretty long time at this point. Yeah. We hope you guys enjoyed.
Oh, boy.
This podcast is a labor of love every week. It's becoming harder and harder for me to make it with how busy I am, working 6 days a week, even though I feel sick right now too. But I never. It's a labor of love. And I would be even sadder if we didn't get to do it. So we hope you guys enjoyed listening to it as much as me and Dennis enjoyed making it. And that's from the heart. Truly. I can't. Can I speak for you, Dennis, when I say that?
Yeah. Okay.
I can't.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
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 It's a labor of love. That's why the Leaning Tower of Pizza leans all the way to the right, because when we feel love in our hearts, we lean in a certain direction. You know what I'm saying?
It's like my dick crooked.
My dick fell off. We hope you guys enjoyed. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, such as on Spotify, where you can leave us a 5-star review, which a lot of you guys have actually been doing since I've been saying that. So thank you. Really means a lot to us. Helps with our SEO a bit. Takes 2 clicks on your mobile device, as well as Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. Leave us good reviews there, as well as like and subscribe to the podcast on all those platforms, as well as on youtube.com/Natunist. Give it a couple more weeks when I actually have time to be able to make one. I want to make another video on NASB 2, because there's some stuff I said in the first one that I don't agree with anymore. As well as subscribe there, leave a like on the video, comment below what your mental health journey has been, or like how you feel about growth mindsets and whatnot, or whatever it is that your unique afflictions that make you a wonderful, beautiful little snowflake in this world, and just tell us what makes you a unique snowflake. That's my question. Let's go with that.
And we're gonna say that in the most non-derogatory way, that we possibly can.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's go with that. We mean it non-derogatory, even though the word snowflake has definitely had
it's turned into a slur.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Ooh, maybe that blue flake, or like what color, like for snowflakes. Like what color could we attribute to that for like racial terms? Like there's greener. There's I like bluger, for like blue peoples. Snowflake.
You changed the vowel on the blue one.
Yeah,
huh?
I fucking changed it because like it's kind of not okay. It's like not okay.
It's fine.
It's
not a real word. It's not a real word. The other one is.
All right, we're done. We love y'all. We hope you guys enjoyed.
Racism isn't real, guys.
Yeah, racism is a product of the institution.
They have us fighting each other. We gotta fight them.
Make podcasts together, like make biracial podcasts like this one.
We're gonna all hold hands like in those terrific TV ads.
All the children of the world could learn to love each other, could be like sister and brother. All the children, every boy and girl, are part of all the children of the world.
Bye.